Shireen Jarrahian is a psychedelic integration specialist, multi-instrumentalist, and a sound healing practitioner. In this conversation about ayahuasca, we discuss everything from the importance of integration to our own personal encounters with non-physical entities. If you currently work with ayahuasca or you're simply just curious about the medicine, you won't want to miss this. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome, Shireen. I'm so happy to have you here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
of
super
course.
stoked.
I love having these conversations. Ayahuasca has made its way into the mainstream. Everyone's talking about it, but I feel like there's still a lot of misconceptions about what it is. So I'm grateful to have you here to shine a light and share some wisdom. What do you do, and how did you get involved in the world of plant medicine?
I started as somebody who was looking for support, and that led me to the world of plant medicines. That led me to my first ceremony, and after that, it was kind of history, and definitely touched upon many layers of my own depression and anxiety. And through that entire process, it led me to awakening music. And by that, many years of curiosity and kind of finding my way with it, with different instruments and flutes and drums and musicality, and just growing in that vein. I am now a musician and a recorded artist, multi-instrumentalist, and a sound healing practitioner, and as well as a psychedelic integration specialist and coach. And I help people make sense of their journeys and make sense of how to integrate these very wide, expansive experiences into their daily lives.
We're left so vulnerable and raw
Mm-hmm.
when we come back from ceremony, and we need that. What does the process of coaching someone through integration look like? And what is the importance of integration? Like, why integration? What is that for those that don't know?
I thought you'd never ask. Integration in its entirety, in its definition, is quite literally is taking any kind of experience, whether it be psychedelics, whether it be, a breakthrough, whether it be a spiritual awakening of some kind, and taking that expansiveness and experiencing the contraction of it and learning how to make changes in your life if things need to be changed, to actually integrate some of those lessons, integrate some of those experiences into your day-to-day active work of changing your life, of being a better person, being a better human to yourself, to your family, to your community, or perhaps birthing very big, beautiful projects that serve community, that serve the world. All of that requires integration. All of that requires the basic nitty-gritty of every day, figuring out what that plan looks like for everybody. And it looks differently for everybody. It could also be something as big as letting go of addiction of any kind and integrating that into your life, and integrating perhaps a sober lifestyle, and how to meet yourself there, And so it's wide ranges. And what that looks like in working with a specialist or a coach like me, it really just depends on the person. It depends on how they want to go about it, what their history is, what their present looks like, and how they would like to create these goals for their future forward self. And that just requires probably a lot of patience and
Discipline, I imagine.
discipline, and just working with somebody on how to create something that feels good so that you stick to it. So that's something from more of a aligned place rather than I should be doing this, which I think a lot of us fall into those traps of I should be doing this, and instead kind of fall through the cracks of losing what it is, that sense of creating something more sustainable.
When coming back from ceremony, I always feel so light, and I feel like, oh, everything's good, everything's okay. And then the world creeps back in, and you're like, oh shit, people are people still, and we still have traffic and work and people's attitudes to deal with.
Totally.
And so, yeah, I can see how like it can just go right out the door if you're not really being focused and aware.
Yeah, and it's quite simply looks just like that. That's what you just described is when the the post expansion contraction,
Mm-hmm.
post bliss wave. What do you do after that?
Right.
And that completely, totally hands down with every single thing that I've done and seen and watched other people do. It's like it comes down to your daily habits, more like I like daily devotions, your daily rituals
Mm-hmm.
on what that looks like for you. Everybody's different, but it comes down to the basics. And those basics hold you in those times of contraction where you're just like, wow, I just don't know what to do now. How do I go
Right.
on with my life once I've been to the quote unquote other side, you know?
Right.
And you come back, you're just like, yeah, we're humans in these suits and we're going to work and we're in a car, you know?
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile those two worlds?
That's it. How do you reconcile those two worlds?
Yeah.
It's like you're living in this other space. You go home for, 5 hours, 6 hours, however long it ceremony lasts. And of course, everything is like, it's like, oh, I'm home. Of course, like everything is
Mm-hmm.
okay. Everything's taken care of. I'm happy. I'm experiencing joy. My heart is wide open. And you've got all of these downloads coming in. And I can see why people want to keep returning to the medicine over and over and over again without integrating the lessons in their life, because it's like it's an escape too.
It can be.
It can be.
Mm-hmm. I think oftentimes people like it's the same with every spiritual experience. It's the same thing with every tradition, you know, with lineages of self development and self work. It's like once you touch that space of absolute totality, and you're just like, I want to go back there again,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Where in reality, it's like there's work to do to be able to find that
Right.
just by yourself, you know, and how
Yeah.
you connect to your reality that it's all there, you know, it's there
Mm-hmm.
as we speak right now, you
It
know.
is. Yeah.
This is how quickly are we moving every day and every moment to where we can, you know, at least find that quiet, find that stillness
Right.
within ourselves to an awareness and willingness to find awareness, to find those places in between
Mm-hmm.
where that absolute and like beauty and like bliss and totality exists because it's all there.
We're just so distracted. So
Yeah.
it's easy to miss.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I find like in the mornings before I go to work, I sit by my altar
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, I quiet my mind and I just have a conversation with spirit,
Yeah,
and just like,
exactly.
like, how can I be a channel? How can I be a vessel for love to flow through and out into the
Mm-hmm.
world? And just like sit in silence and then start your day that way.
Yep.
Because I find if you start your day with the news or anything that's like chaotic, then it kind of does set the tone for the rest of your day.
It does.
Right. And
Absolutely.
one of the first things I do too is just go to Instagram.
Mhm.
Right. Just
Yep.
like now I'm in
We're
someone
all
else's
guilty.
world.
We're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what am I doing?
exactly.
Why am I, and 30
Yeah,
minutes go by and I'm like, I didn't do
I
anything.
know. I totally relate.
It's so silly.
It's super silly.
We're so silly.
No, yeah, and whenever that happens, I always find myself asking myself, "It's like, why did I just do that?" Like, I know I made making a conscious decision to be aware
Mm-hmm.
of those moments,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and when I become aware that I'm doing that, and I'm like, why did I just do that? It's like, oh, I'm looking for connection,
Yeah.
you know? So then
Yeah.
when I
That's
keep
what it is.
reminding myself that that's what it is that I'm looking for in
Mm-hmm.
doing that action, it's like, oh, I'm looking for connection. Okay, how can I connect? I know how to connect, you know? Then I put the phone away and then I'm just like back in my little meditative pose. Even if I'm laying down and waking up, you know, I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, just this moment of like, you know, touching upon gratitude before getting out of bed. You
Yeah.
know, that's like one of the biggest things that really helps to tune in to my day. You know, it's like, okay, I'm alive. That's
Mm-hmm.
even of itself.
I'm in a bed.
It's like, I'm grateful for that. You know, I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I woke up. I'm grateful that I can, you know, wake up and breathe and like basically just like have, you know, a beautiful life to come into.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, like I'm living my life the way that I would like to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So important. Yeah, I do the same. Waking up, just like, oh, I'm grateful for this bed.
Yeah.
this warm bed,
Yeah.
another day to experience love, connection, and joy.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things.
It's all those little things.
Those little things are big things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, Shireen,
Mm-hmm.
what is ayahuasca? Why are people talking about it and turning to it for healing? It's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful that it's everywhere.
It is.
And it's everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Ayahuasca is a brew, a tea brew that is coming from the jungles of Peru originally, though it's found all over South America, just in different variations, held by different lineages and different tribes. It is a combination of a vine and a leaf, and the very intelligent combination of that creates this very special and potent brew that I would very safely say that it is one of the most powerful entheogens in the world.
And what's an entheogen?
An entheogen can be classified as a substance that connects you to a spiritual realm. And it's a medicine of sorts that we refer to it as medicine.
Right.
Because it has this unique ability to take you into a psychedelic realm, but be connected to something that's so much more and so much more bigger than you. It doesn't matter what name that you give it or cognize it as whatever it is. It just really connects you to that space of something that's bigger than you, something that is within you and all around you. It's really powerful.
It's amazing that they found the vine and the leaf and knew to mix them together. Do they grow together in close proximity, or are they? I heard that they don't.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually they're kind of, they would have to look for them. I mean, now, of course, like I'm sure they're growing a lot closer together, but
right.
I think when it's in its time of being discovered, it wasn't like that.
Right. And which was
who
thousands
knows?
of years?
Yeah, who knows? Nobody actually really knows.
Nobody really knows. And how many different tribes work with the medicine?
I would say many.
Yeah.
Because Peru alone, with the Shipibo, they're a demographic of people, but they have different like family lineages and tribes, and so they're kind of just spread out all over, along with other indigenous relations too that aren't that aren't Shipibo. Then there's Colombia, there's Ecuador, and there's Brazil, of course.
Right.
So those are the kind of more highlighted ones that are there that the tribes use. So I would wager to say there'd be many.
And then there's the Santo Daime Church.
It's from Brazil.
From Brazil. And that's a mix of Catholicism, I guess, with...
Yeah, it's a Judeo-Christian ayahuasca church, and it's very much like a church. Like,
so cool.
Along with, just the beauty of a system like that and the discipline of that kind of way and tradition.
I have a hard time imagining like how that works.
Yeah,
I was raised Catholic, and I don't understand. You go up and
there's hymns and songs dedicated to Jesus and Mary and Joseph. Just the whole.
So you
slew of
go
it.
Up for communion, but communion is ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not just an hour mass. I mean, it's
hours.
It's hours. Yeah.
It's hours and hours.
Have you ever been?
I have. Yeah, I got to experience one, and it. I mean, granted, I experienced one, and after that, I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again.
Really?
But of course, like this to medicine in general. But then after that, she kept calling me back, and it was kind of history after that point. But it definitely, it was a very powerful and cathartic experience because I had my own kind of death and rebirth experience where I was just in the womb in the cosmos,
Right.
And it kind of like really got to see what it was, at least touch upon. It was like, okay, why are we here? That was the question I'd asked.
Right.
And I was shown that. So in that way, it was very powerful, and it got to turn on a new way of relating with myself and the world. And it began a very long journey of that relationship too. But that experience in itself is quite different. Like you're in a room, you're sitting in a chair, You're, the men and women are separated on the other sides of the room, so it's kind of
Oh,
segregated in that way.
interesting.
And you're singing, and you're participating actively in that prayer all night, in some way,
Yeah.
even if you can't read the book anymore, because you're given the hymns itself, so you can kind of read
Uh-huh.
what it is that the words are, because there's mostly sung in Portuguese,
Right.
even though you have no idea how to speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
So you're just like
But you
kind of following
learn.
along,
Uh-huh.
and amazing things happen with your brain when you're in that space. You just kind of follow along. All of a sudden you're speaking Portuguese.
It's
It's
amazing.
quite amazing.
Yeah.
And you get to see how much of an active prayer it is
Mm-hmm.
once you kind of get past your own uh discomfort around religion and what that brings up in that kind of space.
Right.
I mean, I grew up at my core spiritual, but I grew up in a Muslim family.
Okay.
So that was
Uh-huh.
like, okay, yeah, it's kind of the same parallels. So it's like
Right.
it kind of just like messes with your head a little bit. And
Uh-huh.
once you get past that,
Mm-hmm.
and once you understand, it's like, oh, it's not about the people. Like, it's about the energy that they were trying to bring into whatever, however that shows up for you. But
Right.
once you kind of get past that part of it, then it really allows for the opening of a new way, like just for you and the communication between you and the medicine, and that your higher selves and spirit
The
and
spirit,
God, or
yeah.
however, whoever, whatever you call that.
Right. It's the same regardless of what you call it.
Exactly. Yeah, it still gives you an opportunity to be with your humanity and also transcend it.
Right.
But it's not for everybody, and it's definitely its own particular medicine, and it holds that kind of discipline
Yeah.
that is really good for some people.
You mean the church is not for everybody, but also
Yeah,
ayahuasca is not for everybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in that vein too, like going to a Santo Daime work, they call them works rather than ceremonies. Uh, it's different for everybody.
Okay.
It can really click for somebody, or it can just be like, nope, I'm gonna stick to the dark.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna try something else. And that's totally valid and wonderful in of itself, because what I like to call um working with ayahuasca and the medicine, because there's so many different groups, there's so many different lineages, there's so many different traditions. It's like, that's like the main frequency, but there's different channels.
Yeah.
And every different space,
Mm-hmm.
every different channel can open up and bring up new things.
Right.
It can open up and bring up new layers of trauma that you didn't know existed.
Interesting.
And then it's a gift in that way, even though it might be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to look at it, you get to find it, and you get to kind of receive it and heal it,
Right.
should you make that choice. They all kind of give you a different perspective on what it is, on how to find those nuances within the medicine work, if you're somebody that does this for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Which there are, back to that statement of like, oh yeah, people keep going back and back, over and over again. For the most part, yes, it is probably somebody chasing
Right.
a breakthrough, or chasing something that they find hard to find themselves in between.
Mm-hmm.
And for some folks, it's just like more and deeply ingrained patterns take longer
Right.
to break. They take
Mm-hmm.
longer to look at and even integrate. And the integration can also mean more ceremonies.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
No judgment on people who go all the time, but I can imagine that there might be some people that do go as an escape.
Oh yeah.
And
It's very prevalent when you see that happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do it
It's obvious.
every weekend if I could.
For sure.
I
hear
would.
that.
I mean, I love the space.
Yeah.
I love the medicine space. It's for me. I guess I just haven't had any tough. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I've had some challenging ceremonies.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have, but they're mainly like just annoying, like just ego coming in and just like
Yeah.
poking me
Oh,
and
for
just
sure.
like I'm
Yeah.
pissed at everything, the music,
Uh-huh.
everything and everyone. And I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, why? I'm supposed to be having fun. I'm supposed to be enjoying this and connecting with God and the universe. And I'm upset and angry and annoyed right now. I've had those.
Oh, yeah. And that's equally as valid too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then it always like it does a full circle and then,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I never felt a connection to my ancestors or ancestry. But in ceremony, I've had ancestors come in and like talk to me, and it's wild, like out of nowhere. You know what it feels like when spirit communicates? It's like getting a flash drive and plugging it into your
Yeah.
laptop and then dragging a folder from your flash drive onto the desktop. Like all the information is there like instantly.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm having a conversation, but the information's coming in as I'm asking the questions. And it's just like really, really, really fast. And it's like this ancient wisdom that comes through.
Mhm.
And it feels so good.
Mhm.
And it's so warm and so loving. And I couldn't think of those things or say those things to myself. I mean, I guess I could, but like it feels
Yeah,
like it's coming from outside of me.
totally.
And I've journaled,
Mhm.
some of the things that I've learned. I wish I would have brought my journal with me to read some things, but like it's always exactly what I need.
Mhm.
And it always feels like I'm like I said, like I'm going home. And it just like, okay, this is the space. This is it. There is more to our existence than this reality, right? And this is where we came from. This is where we're going. I don't know what it is, but it's fucking amazing. It
Absolutely.
feels so good and so right and so divine, and it's just love. It's
Mhm.
just love. Yeah, it's just amazing what I find in ceremony as far as like the non-physical. It's the juicy stuff for me. Like
Mhm.
that's why I keep going back. It's like a family reunion, it feels like.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of anybody like having like psychic surgery when people have
Yeah,
the surgery on their bodies and
totally.
stuff?
Most definitely.
What have you experienced in that realm?
I've had a few of those. It
Yeah.
definitely they're very distinct in the way they feel. I
Hmm.
mean, it feels relatively the same parallels for most people and how they describe it. But it almost feels like it's definitely feels like it's something beyond you. Like it's not coming from you or your mind.
Yeah.
It's coming from an outside force that's also oddly coming from within you because you drank the medicine, so it's in you,
Yeah.
but it feels like it's coming from outside, and it's very distinct in that way. And every single one of those that I've had, afterwards, I've literally felt like, oh, whoa, I feel like taller. I
Hmm.
feel bigger, or like there's more space. There's more
Hmm.
like internal space.
Right.
Or I notice that even afterwards, I'll respond to something differently than I would normally react to it. You know, like
Yeah.
it could be like a stress of some kind.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Or something that I would just have a normal way that I would react
Uh-huh.
that would probably spiral me out.
Right.
And then like I would notice very noticeably after one in particular, it was like something happened. I was like, oh, well, here's a solution. It's
Hmm.
like everything's okay. you know,
Do you mean after the experience happened? Like
After
when
the
you're back in the
experience,
world,
yeah,
there was
exactly.
a trigger or
There's like a
something.
different response to it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you were like realigned or
Yeah. It literally
reprogrammed.
feels like things were taken out and either things were put in or just more space. Like it was just very, very palpable.
Have you ever seen beings, entities when working with the medicine?
The way that my senses work is that I feel them more than I see them.
Yeah.
And I know some people are more visual.
Right.
Um, the way that I feel them is that I can typically just feel where they are, either in a room or um attached to people or just like, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can just feel something, like another presence or another quality of something, it's just very distinct for me.
That's how I feel them too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. When they come in for me in ceremony, I'll see a light come from behind me. It's like it feels like someone's shining a flashlight or a light from behind me. I remember the first time I like looked, and it's always on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking like, who's turning on the light back there? And there was no one back there.
I love that.
And then I'll start rocking, and then I'll start shaking,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll feel them come through me, and it's weird. Do they ever like take over your hands and move you?
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh my God! I was like kind of like just like slouching in my spot once, and then like it was like all of a sudden I'm like up, but I wasn't in control, and they're like pounding on my heart. It was like so much like ancestral pride, like,
yeah,
and it's just like this pride, and I'm just like, what is happening? But it was so beautiful because it was like, I almost felt like my back just straightened. I felt like these feathers go behind me, and like, just like, I can't duplicate the beat. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic. Magic is real.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not coming from me. It's coming from some other place.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you and I having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're saying things and I'm receiving the information.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
No, it's super powerful that way.
Yeah.
It's utter magic when you're in that space where there's, like the resistance, you kind of work through the resistance. Because really, I mean, as stubborn as we humans are, it's mostly just our resistances and our fears,
right,
that prevent us from being in that state all the time.
Right.
In general. And by that, I mean just like connected in our hearts, connected to spirit, and moving from that space in the world every day. And in the spaces, in medicine, in ceremonies, like when you're there and those experiences are happening, you're very cognizant that there is something else happening, and you're also very cognizant of how your ego and your body automatically may react. It's like trying to stop it because it doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a natural response because it's it's there to keep you safe.
Right.
And there's also that place where the opportunity presents itself. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean into this instead and just allow it to be what it is. Because when you allow it to be what it is when you receive the medicine of that, when you actually receive what it is that's being given to you or being shown to you or, being felt through you.
Right.
So that you can remember what that feels like, because it's tuning your nervous system to remember a different way,
right.
Either to clear something or to remember how it feels to feel good,
Yeah.
and how we can utilize that feeling every single day.
Absolutely.
Even when we're dealing with stress or we're dealing with triggers or we're dealing with even trauma, it's like, how do we remember to feel in our bodies the way that we felt in those moments, Right.
And when those moments happen in ceremony, I tell myself, don't forget this. Do not forget this. Do not forget this.
Yeah.
And then you forget it. But then you remember it.
Then
you remember it.
That's why integration is so important.
It is. Yeah.
That's how we kind of keep those neurons stimulated,
right.
and the vibrations people keep saying, it's like, oh, keep your vibe high. It's like, that can be very, whatever, but it can also be like, no, yeah. You remember that vibration. What can you do to actually, lean into it and nerd out and figure out what that is?
Right.
Because then you can actually utilize that every day.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. And I've had moments too where, like you said, you can allow it, but your mind also will try to like stop it and push it away in ceremony. Like for me, I've had that too, where my ego was just so strong.
Yeah.
And spirit was trying to come in and talk, and my ego was like, huh, is that your ancestors talking to you right now? Huh? Like, oh, it's just full of shit. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. And I'm like, ego. Stop it. This is why I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh, I know. It's
the worst.
It's really irritating. And then that's part of the opportunity and beauty of it is that, you can very easily lean into obliteration of your ego,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't make anything sustainable after that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like what I often offer people when I'm assisting them and prepping them for an experience that they may be taking, it uh, I invite them to integrate their ego when that
Mm.
happens, you know, and how do you utilize integration and kind of making your ego your friend,
Uh-huh.
or otherwise,
So
if you want to get sassy with it,
yeah.
you
So
can like,
what do you do?
well, when those voices come in, like
Uh-huh.
for myself, even if I'm doing a really in-depth like yoga practice or like a tantra practice, like
Mm-hmm.
it brings up the same things,
Okay.
as you would in a psychedelic experience,
Right.
where things come on, and you're just like, ah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you start to dig your heels in the sand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. It's the same process. It's like once it shows up, it's like, okay, hi, here you are. It's
Uh-huh.
like, yes, I'm really tired. Yes, my body is very tired. Yes, my brain is really tired
Mm-hmm.
of dissolving. I understand.
Right.
It's like, oh, I listen to them as grievances.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. You're
Yeah.
tired. I totally understand. It's really hard to like let go of sixpence and just like be in this space right now. I totally understand.
I like that. It's
You
like you're
know?
talking to a little child.
Yeah.
Like, I get
Because
you. I hear
ultimately,
you. That's what it
exactly. And
is.
it's ultimately it is fear,
Yeah.
right? It's
Right.
fear. And even now I've learned that fear can be put in place. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like even though you're scared, you still cultivate a sense of like, I'm terrified, but I'm still gonna do it because my
Right.
curiosity is greater than where this fear has kept me for all my life.
Right.
I want to know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And you just keep pushing forward.
Right.
Which that's the other tool to utilize in those spaces. Is like developing and cultivating how badly you want it.
Right.
How badly do you want that breakthrough?
Mm-hmm.
How badly do you want to get to the other side of your ego going, na 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 na?
Yeah,
It's
for
like, how
sure.
badly do you want to understand who you are on the other side of the sphere?
Right.
And that ultimately will give most people the impetus to lean into that. And then I befriend my
That's the
ego.
work.
It's like, hi, I know, I get it, you're tired.
Yeah.
But guess what? We're still gonna do it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like just quiet down, just mute. Just like find the mute button and use it,
Yep.
It's like at this point, it's like exactly.
Yeah.
It's like just flick it right off your shoulder. It's like, love you, bye. Ding,
Yeah.
and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
And for some people that can be really hard to break through at the first time because it can be really overwhelming, you know? It can be really
Not easy.
overwhelming. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
Right.
And that's why in the preparation is what I like to say is like, if you have a meditative practice, lean into that before your journey,
Mm-hmm.
Lean into all of those self-care, slowing down, preparing your nervous system before your journey, so that
Yeah.
way when you're in it, you remember what that feels like,
Yeah.
if
Right.
you'll remember what that feels like, and you'll remember when resistance will come, and you'll remember it's like, okay, this was normal. Let's keep sidestepping it and moving past it rather than leaning into it. And the discomfort is usually where that arises,
Right.
those uncomfortable moments. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm so uncomfortable right now.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna lean in. Some people are just like all about it.
Yeah.
And they're super stoked when that happens,
Right.
which is bless their hearts. They're awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
And for some people it's like, I'm freaking out. That's why like, the spaces that you go and the ceremonies that you go and, wherever you choose to go, retreats and things like that, always make sure that, you feel supported and that what their protocols are.
Right. If people are ready, right, for ayahuasca, like let's say it's
Mhm.
calling them, because it's not for everybody. And I know that a lot of people, when they first do it, it's like you just want to share it with everybody. I know I wanted to share it with
Yeah.
everybody. Like, oh my God, you got to try this. It's amazing. You're going to connect
Yeah.
with every spirit. And if you didn't believe in God, you will after this. Like, but it's not for everybody. It has to call you. You have
Yeah.
to be ready for it.
Oh, totally.
But when you're ready, what do you do? Because I feel like there's a lot of people. I hear people doing it here in LA in their living rooms.
Mhm.
People think they go out and they feel the calling. They want to be shamans.
Yeah.
They go a
Oh.
couple times and
Yeah.
have people over and start administering the
Yeah.
medicine. You can't go to those spaces.
No. the main questions that you ask is like, how long have you trained as a facilitator? Not how long have you drank the medicine for
Right.
yourself,
Two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
How long have you been serving this medicine in a facilitator role? Do you work on your own self? Do you like to sit for yourself? Do you work on your own things? Because it's a personal question, but it still helps to see. It's like, oh, okay, so they're serving this medicine. Do they also commune with it for their own healing, for their own selves? Because that's absolutely important.
Absolutely.
Especially somebody who's in that place.
I feel like they would have to be walking the walk.
I would say so in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and even better to ask is like, what are your safety protocols? What are your emergency protocols? Will you call my emergency contact if something happens? How do you deal with, projections and things like that? Because things come up. How do you deal with if I'm so uncomfortable that I can't even be in the room? Is there another place for me to go where I'll be still connected to the ceremony, but in a different place in the house, whatever?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people need that,
Right.
because like I said, that process can be very overwhelming. Can I have a consultation call with you beforehand? Do you offer that? Answering any questions that may come up, preparation, things like that. Is integration included? Where would I find integration afterwards? Things like that. How are you? Do they offer that, or is it outsourced somewhere else?
Right.
So it's kind of important to really figure out how people are managing these things prior to being in a room with them. Because with any psychedelics, with any whether they be plant medicines or synthetics, like you're still whoever is kind of serving them, especially with plant medicines, they're kind of responsible for that person's consciousness,
Yeah.
especially during the experience, since that space can be very suggestive. It can be highly suggestive. It's very sensitive,
Yeah.
It's a unique phenomenon with these psychedelics that we get to go into a subconscious level of our mind awake.
Yeah.
Which is
in
where
a dream state.
Yeah, which is where a lot of power is held by the participant as well as the person facilitating that, circle,
right,
or traditional lineage or whatever, what have you. That's why it's important to really know, oh, who am I going to go and sit with? Who is this person? How long have they been doing this? Who are their teachers? How did they get? Did they? Oh, Siri.
Siri wants to.
Come on.
She wants to share.
She really does. She wants to understand. That's funny. See, they're always listening.
They are.
Yeah, you just have to be really careful. You have to be very utilize every amount of discretion of how it is and who it is that you're going to. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, because I've heard there's abuse in the community as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is part of the duality of our world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another part of the reality. I'll speak for the ayahuasca realm, but primarily it's where it's showing up. I mean, in every other aspect of spirituality as well.
Right.
It's just the nature of our age. But yeah, even for those reasons, it's really important to understand cultural competencies, and it's really important to understand who is serving that medicine and what their protocols are.
Right.
Maybe even finding out what's their track record. If you can, which the age of social media or the age of internet, like you can to a degree figure that out. Word of mouth, it's like there's many different ways to try and look those things up, but
yeah, it's a small world.
It's a small world,
Yeah.
and it's even more important to see. It's like, okay, is this space going to be safe to the degree that I would feel safe, and how am I going to take responsibility for my own safety when I'm going into these spaces? Which is even more to realize and understand where you'll be going to receive and to meet this medicine.
Yeah. All very important. Very good points. I want to talk about music.
My favorite.
Yeah, you're a musician.
Yeah.
There's a whole genre of music, medicine music.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Oh, it's lovely. It's popular. It's
It's
absolutely amazing.
so good.
Yeah.
I just remember going to ceremony and just I was like, whoa, like just seeing the musicians channel this source energy through the music, and I didn't know what they were saying, but I knew what they were saying.
Yeah. It's
And
amazing how that happens.
it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And you feel it in your heart.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Because it's not just the words, it's the intention behind it.
It's the intention behind the
Yeah.
words.
The intention is universal. It doesn't matter what language you speak.
Right.
It's like that just
And
translates
you
through.
feel that.
Yeah, and you feel it.
The music carries the medicine
It does,
through
yeah.
through the body.
Mm-hmm. With the Icaros, especially, and I'll just speak from the lineages of the Shipibo,
Mhm.
their whole cosmology and around it is pretty phenomenal. Like they have like their own like conversational Shipibo is much different than the shamanic language of Shipibo, like
Really?
what that they use within their ceremonies
Mm-hmm.
is much different, and what they use to work on people. And they use the sounds, the sonic frequencies of their voice and the words
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they're pronounced and the way that they're kind of strung together with melodies. Um, and it's all freestyle, by the way.
It's all freestyle.
It's all freestyle because like they, that's their language. So like
Uh-huh.
they have that breadth of their vocabulary,
And it like vibrates.
and it vibrates.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much made of water for the
Mhm.
most part.
Mhm.
Throwing some minerals in there, but like
Mhm.
mostly made of water. So that automatically responds to sound and frequency.
Yeah.
And they will say that they're just channeling the plants. They're channeling the master plants that they've the process that they call dieting. That usually goes along with drinking ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like they utilize the energy of those plants, of those diets, and the ayahuasca itself, the relationship that they've made with the medicine, to channel all of that into those icaros, into the sound, into the words, into the frequencies, and how it gets into you and just vibrates into your brain and like literally tunes your brain. Or it, a lot of people have reported where it just like heals their illnesses in tandem with the medicine, because the medicine responds to that language.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's really wild. And it's not just them, it's it could be it's even the other tribes and the other lineages too, with their own language, with their own chants, with their own icaros. And even on the Brazilian side too, their own chants, their own way that they work with that, with the medicine. It responds to that language. It responds to their intention. And it's what's mind blowing. I talk about Shipibo a lot because I've experienced it a lot more. Uh, it's mind boggling because I've literally had my ears and my brain, the part of my brain that is responsible for playing an instrument and hearing music, like after a particular session with the Shipibo practitioner, literally tuned my ear. It tuned my ear in a whole new way, and I could just listen to the notes and the tones in a whole new way after that. It was ridiculous. So it has this incredible power to really, I mean, with somebody who's really skilled,
Yeah.
has had experience a lot more, even if they're not traditionally Shipibo, if they're not indigenously Shipibo, doesn't matter. It's like both. It's you can tell who is skilled and who is not, But when that happens, it's like it just blows your mind afterwards. You're just like, what just happened? How am I hearing these things? I feel different, So it's like it's really powerful what music in that space does to your body, to your nervous system, to your soul, like for the sake of moving the energy in your body,
Right.
it has the power to just move stagnant and stuck energies through your body and out, with the help of the medicine, and to support it in channeling it through, vice versa. That's kind of the whole aspect of that. It's like when it works, then you know that the person doing it has stepped their humanness out of the way,
Yeah.
and they've done work to do that, and something else is taken in tandem. Like there's a collaboration.
A collaboration with spirit.
Yeah.
I know I've been in ceremony, not with a Shipibo, where this is like there was a certain like chant or something, and then all of a sudden it was like
Uh-huh.
hand down
Yeah.
my throat into my
Yeah.
stomach and pulled out
Yeah.
everything, and
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it does.
And it was the music that
Yeah.
did that. It was wild,
Yeah, it's super wild.
and it felt so good.
Yeah.
I love purging. I do. I love it. I love it because
That's awesome.
it's like,
I'm glad you do,
it's
because
hard.
it's a big part of it.
It's a big part of
Yeah.
it because like you're getting well.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so I'm purging, and as I'm purging, I'm saying thank you, thank you, thank
Exactly.
you, thank you, thank you, and just getting rid of trauma and trapped energy and whatever I'm holding on to, ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
Just coming out.
Yeah.
And it feels so good after I'm done.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of that technology.
Yeah.
It's like the music in tandem with the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It just creates this impeccable collaboration to move energy within yourself and the ceremonies that I've been a part of, and to witness it,
Right.
as a participant. I'm just like, holy, like that just happened. Yeah. Like it's amazing how that happens, and it's just like it's such a beautiful thing to witness
Mm-hmm.
and to look at and like study. It's just it just not only allows for that healing to happen, but it just like I believe in magic all over again,
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
musician as well. I'm just like, okay, cool. This is rad. Like
Yeah.
like it actually works. And then when outside of those spaces you listen to music,
Mm-hmm.
whether if it is at a sound bath or like, you go and see your favorite musicians, it's like, wow, this is a whole like spiritual experience right now, cuz like you actually can understand what it is they're doing,
Yeah, for
and like
sure.
what they're moving,
Yeah. That
outside
makes
of that
sense.
space by being connected to that same space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Absolutely. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even I've been driving before, and like a medicine song will come on,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll put me right in like that space.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was driving,
Yep, muscle memory.
one time, like it was so interesting because I feel like they knew, so they put me in the right lane, and the right lane there was like this like a big truck that was doing like slow construction work, so I was able to like just stay behind them and just like chill for a second because
Mhm.
I felt like I was almost in trance while I was driving.
Yeah,
So it's like and like
totally.
went to the right lane, and then it was like I was behind this truck and I was like, okay, I'm safe, I'm fine, I'm good. But it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
I wasn't like terrified. Oh my God, what's happening? It was like I'm being taken care of. I'm just like, it was like a little wink,
Yeah.
right? They're like, we got you. You're good. You're fine. Nothing's going to
Yeah.
happen right now. But remember,
Yeah.
we're still here.
We're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was hinting at earlier. It's like when you stay or there's something that reminds you of that space.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really a huge part of the integration process too. It's like, what do you do that will remind you of that space? And all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden you do it and you're kind of transported at least a little bit,
Right.
and then you notice that your body and your nervous system and your vibration is like all of a sudden more settled, and it's kind of
Absolutely.
tuned into that space where
Mm-hmm.
everything is in synchronicity,
You're in alignment.
and you experience synchronicity too.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. When the synchronicities happen, it's just like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And it's
magic.
It is. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm looking for the number 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's
I'm
like,
looking for it.
it's like, they're like,
Yeah.
and it's not even just that, it's everything else. And then there's like a visceral feeling that
Totally.
comes with it. And then like, you'll be thinking about something that validates something for you. Like, oh my God, it's just, it's magic.
Yeah. And
You
it's
can't-
like a little wink from the universe.
It is.
Or
Yeah.
spirit, just like, hey, we've been here,
Yeah.
It's like, come back when you can,
Mm-hmm.
and at least come back to the space, figure out what you need to do to come back to the space, even if you don't, come back to ceremony right away
Right.
or whatever,
Right.
imbibe in anything, but rather than you are flexing your muscle of how do I get back to the space,
Yeah, for
How do
sure.
what do I do that reminds me of this space?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do more of that, and that becomes an integration practice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And the more you find yourself, even if it's, if it's mundane, then you
Mm-hmm.
figure out, it's like, okay, what's the next level? Like, what do I want to do? What brings me
Right.
joy?
Yeah.
It's like, what's going to feel fun right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure that out. And then that's the same space where you go as well. And it still connects you to that space.
It does.
Yeah, it
It's
connects you
joy.
to your life force, and it connects you to the life force that's
Yep.
animating you
Yeah.
and everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I love you, Shireen.
Shucks. I love you too.
How do people connect with you and find you for coaching?
They can find me on Instagram for now,
Uh-huh.
and all of my info's there. You can just find me on there.
Oh, what's your Instagram
I am
handle?
sweet.surgeon.
Sweet.surgeon.
Yes.
All right. I like that.
I know. I keep thinking it's like, I'm not going to change that name. Like, no, I'm going to keep that name. 'Cause I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. It's a good one.
And it's actually my first and last name translated from Farsi.
Oh.
So Shireen means sweet.
Uh-huh.
Jarrahian means surgeon. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to keep it like that.
Oh.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Do you go to Burning Man?
Of course I do. Well, I haven't in a while, but I've had the privilege to go at least 5 times.
Is that your playa name? Sweet Surgeon?
No,
What's your playa name?
Artemis.
Artemis?
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
I kind of named myself, but then, people would call me Artemis.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Nebula. Someone looked at my eyes and they're like, "What color your eyes are Nebula?"
They
and
are.
they're like, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's your playa name."
That's so cute.
Nebula.
They are Nebula. It's like a little galaxy in your eyes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close the night out?
I would just say that whether seeking out psychedelic experiences or seeking out spiritual experiences, they're always one and the same. There's always an energetic, there's always an intention that gets you there or that feels that desire. And what I like to say to people every single time is like, always keep your expectations low and your intentions super high and your prayers high. And your prayers will always lead you to wherever it is that you need to be. And to always look out for those signs.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shireen.
Of course. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for dropping by.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back sometime.
I'd love to be
Maybe
back.
with your flute or some like cool instrument.
Oh, I'd love that. That could be fun.
What's that thing called that goes?
Oh, that's the shruti box.
The shruti box?
Shruti, yeah.
Shruti box.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my God.
That's good. It's a fun one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.